I thought it was normal for your spine to poke out the back and kind of look like a stegosaurus when you bend forward. My doctor looked really shocked for a brief moment and then said something along the lines of, "Yep, that's scoliosis. I'm only 15. Doctors of Reddit, what is your "oh, I thought that was normal" story? Part 1. Hi, I'm Jasmine, and I've got some crazy true stories for you today. Some of them are more funny, embarrassing, while others are much more intense. I literally scoured Reddit and Quora, and these are my top picks, which get juicier as we go along. But first, like and subscribe, or else this will be in your bed tonight. Well, a 67-year-old lady came in one time, who said she was pregnant. Gotta say, she could actually pass for being pregnant. It was all in her abdomen. She resembled those pregnant women near the end, who look like they're carrying around a hefty basketball. But to reiterate, she was 67. Turns out, instead of carrying a child to term, she was in fact carrying around a 37-pound ovarian cyst. Till this day, I have never seen anything like it. So I asked if I could watch the surgery. Bear in mind this happened in a community hospital many years ago, before the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, so the lab let anyone who wanted to view the incredible thing before it was dissected by pathology. The line at lunchtime was so long, you'd think they were giving away free concert tickets. I had a really bad sore throat for a few days. I thought nothing of it, since I'm sure you know, dorms are gross, and just took a crap ton of Tylenol. But about a month later, the joints in my fingers became extremely sore, and I could barely make a fist. The pain then spread to my wrists, elbow, knees, ankles, until it reached all my joints and muscles. At one point it even hurt to lift my eyebrows, or touch my scalp. I couldn't roll over in bed, so I literally lied there for days and cried. Finally, my mom came to the rescue and took me to the doctor. I was diagnosed with post-streptococcal arthritis. Turns out that because I didn't treat my strep throat, which is an infection of the throat and tonsils caused by a type of bacteria, with antibiotics, it spread through my body and caused arthritis in literally all of my joints. I've had a lot of medical problems in my life, but this one was the worst by far. It took another 3 months for me to start feeling normal again, and a full year to be completely back to normal. But still, to this day, I suffer from the side effects. Healthcare worker here. I was completing a screen in a falls and balance clinic and asked a patient to take his shoes and socks off. His shoes came off alright, but he was struggling to get his socks off. After 5 minutes of struggling and explaining that he hadn't actually changed socks for a couple of months, I offered to remove his socks. As I peeled the socks back, there was a plume of dead skin. I had to be firm to pull the socks off, and the skin had actually started to grow into the cotton pattern of the socks. And his nails were so long that they curled around his toes and were digging into the underside of his toes. Safe to say, the socks were binned and burnt with a very hot flame. Psychiatrist here. One of my first patients was a young woman that really struggled to sleep because she heard constant voices in her head. She told me that they each had different names and identities, and would constantly caution her about certain people or situations. She felt forced to answer them at all times, and occasionally they would even outright push her towards violent acts. She believed this was normal because, as she explained, many people talk to themselves. Then I had to clarify that they were only talking to one person themselves. She was later diagnosed with schizophrenia. I stepped on a nail at 6 a.m., pulled my foot off the nail, and went to school and walked around all day in flip-flops. Eventually my foot swelled up, so my sister made me go to the ER. I was in for a shock when I got there because the doc said that if I had just gone home like I wanted to, then I would have died in my sleep from the infection. I spent 10 days in the hospital getting IV antibiotics every 4 hours. 5 of those days were spent having serious conversations about amputation. I used to have awful period cramps. They were so bad that I would just throw up and be shaking. I couldn't pay attention in class and literally failed exams because the pain was just so bad. My mother dismissed it. She told me that pain was normal, and that I needed to stop making such a big deal out of it. When I heard that going on the pill could make periods easier, I asked my mum, who flat out refused. Instead, she told me to drink more water, do more exercise, and to use a hot pad. As soon as I turned 18, I went straight to Planned Parenthood and asked to be put on the pill because I was active, which was actually a lie. I assumed that if I told them I wanted them for my period, they might just dismiss it like my mum. The pill helped, thank goodness. I only just learned from my gynecologist that what I was experiencing was in fact not normal. The takeaway from this is, if you have painful periods, it isn't your fault, and don't let anyone make you think it is. If your parents don't believe you, find another adult you trust to help you. I'm a Spanish medical interpreter. I help Spanish-speaking LEPs, limited English proficients, to communicate with doctors and nurses. Not only do I witness a lot of weird and straight-up dumb stuff, I also, of course, interpret it in a first-person manner, which can sometimes be rather traumatizing. I've had lots of stories, but this is by far my favorite. One time, this young woman came into the fertility clinic to find out why she was struggling to get pregnant. Patient: as far as I know, I'm not infertile because I already have a 4-year-old child, but for some reason, since coming to America, I've not been able to get pregnant. Doctor: sure thing. Proceeds with some general medical questions. Okay, now let me check your medical record. Funny. It says here that you're taking a birth control injection treatment every 3 months. Is that correct? Patient: that is correct. I've been taking it for a year now since I came to the USA, and I just had my last shot last week. Doctor: well, no wonder you can't get pregnant. You're under a birth control treatment. As long as you keep taking it, you'll not be able to get pregnant. That's why it's called birth control. Oh. So that's what it's for. Well, I didn't know it was for that. How am I supposed to know? I just saw it was free and accepted it. It's not my fault that all treatments have such unclear and complicated names. I thought it was some kind of vitamin. It's things like this that slowly make me lose my faith in humanity. This really touched me. I remember watching a documentary with my parents about a doctor who went to third world countries to fit children with proper prosthetics. They showed a young girl who had lost her shin getting a proper and fitted prosthetic. As she's walking around, she suddenly bursts into tears. The doctor rushes over to her, asking her what's wrong. And between the tears, she explains, I didn't know that it wasn't supposed to hurt. For the first time after losing her leg, she was walking around pain-free. That one made my heart melt. So I've never been able to burp. I guess some people just can't. Instead, I have this strange dinosaur-like froggish sound. I can actually stop the dino sound if I close my mouth, so none of my family members ever really heard it, which is probably why I thought this was normal for the longest time. But recently, the sounds became quite painful, and occasionally it made me feel like I couldn't breathe, so opening my mouth and letting the sound come out properly relieved the pain a little bit. However, this only helped to an extent. The pain gradually became more frequent and more intense. I found the only way I could get the pain to stop was when I was laying on my back. But obviously I couldn't just lie down forever. So I'm super done with it at this point. I go to my doctor and basically say, I can't burp, but my frog sounds are hurting me a lot, so is there something we could do about that? To which she responded pretty confused and had no idea what I was talking about. She's referred me to a specialist. I've got an appointment in 2 weeks. But the funniest thing was seeing my boyfriend's scared face when he heard me make that sound for the first time. We've been dating for 4 years, but I never told him about it because I was a little embarrassed. So one day, I just made my little sound, and he thought my soul had left my body. He couldn't believe that I had had this issue the whole time we were dating. I think that has got to be one of my all-time favorite stories. And I think I kind of know what she's talking about. Except mine sounds like one of those old teddy bears when they're upside down. I get it sometimes when I yawn. YouTube thinks you might like this video.